Good morning to the Honorable Ministers of the Council, members of the media, online viewers, radio listeners via St. Martin Gov Radio 107.9 FM and respective radio stations island-wide. I'm Rolika Roach and welcome to the virtual Live Council of Ministers press briefing for today, Wednesday, July 22nd, 2020. At this time, I would like to invite the Minister of Education, Culture, Youth and Sport, the Honorable Dr. Anders Rudolph Samuel to address you. Minister Samuel, you have the floor.
Thank you, Rolika. Good morning to you and good morning to your team. Good morning, PM. Good morning to my colleagues of the Council of Ministers. Good morning to the media, people of St. Martin. Blessed day to us all. Most naturally, I can understand, and it is true, that we are now on the 22nd of July. And August is around the corner, so a lot of persons, parents, teachers, students will be wondering what will be happening in August regarding the opening of schools. And I would like to say, yes, schools will be opening in August, but the schools will be opening depending on the situation of the island at that time. And why am I saying it like that? Presently in St. Martin, we can hear about 1 or 2 cases. And if you were to open schools at this moment, you can imagine it will be totally different than if you would approach the opening of school with 0 cases or with more than 1 or 2 cases. So the ministry have prepared different approaches. We have 4 approaches, and the 4 approaches range from going back to school as normal or going back to school staggered or different strategies depending on the situation of the virus on the island. This information has been given to the school boards, and together with the ministries, they are discussing the different phases. In which phase, what do you do? In which phase, what don't you do? You can imagine that we have different school facilities with different sizes. So if you were to have a school where the classrooms are very big, distancing in such a classroom would be different than a school with small classrooms. Then you would have to take the number of students into consideration. The number of students per class at that moment will also differ. All of these factors, together with the regular COVID advisory, which is mask or shield, wash hand, and social distancing, together with wash hand stations and sanitizing stations, all of these issues are being discussed with the school boards. So I would like the school boards, the parents, the teachers, and all of us who are involved with schools and students going back to schools to just pay attention in the coming days and in the coming weeks, where more and more information would be made to the public. The information is being discussed, as I said, with the school boards, and we will also involve the other stakeholders and most naturally to the public at large. So I would like the public to know that we are busy with the preparation, and this will be made available as we go along. I would like to leave it here at the moment, Rolika, and I will await any questions that would arise. Thank you.
I would now like to re-invite the Minister of Public Health, Social Development and Labor, the Honorable Richard Panafleck, to address you. Minister Panafleck, you have the floor.
Thank you, Ms. Roach, and thank you to my colleague, the Minister of Education, for allowing me to use his facilities. I hope it goes better now. I will restart my introduction. Good morning to the members of the media, all my esteemed colleagues of Council of Ministers and the people of St. Martin. The repatriation flight from Fort Lauderdale on Saturday, 18 July 2020 was a success with only one person testing positive for COVID. The person who tested positive for COVID did not have symptoms when they arrived at the airport and was wearing a mask in flight and on the airport. Therefore, the risk of exposure to COVID-19 by other persons on the flight or at the airport was deemed minimal. I continue to urge everyone to play their part and comply to the preventive advice, maintaining 2 meter social distance, wash your hands frequently with soap and water, sanitize your hands often, and wear mask face shields. There, I would like to say something. I'm very pleased to see that there are a lot of people having these modern types of face masks. I just want to remind them to wash them daily with disinfectant so that they can be used the next day again and continue taking care of themselves. If experiencing flu-like symptoms, please call your family physician or call 914 hotline if you have any questions. I would like to express a heartfelt thank you to all the stakeholders, nurses, physicians, lab technicians, who assisted to make this possible. An application will be available for incoming passengers traveling or returning to St. Martin who have a valid PCR test taken the last 72 hours to upload prior to boarding the flight. Persons who have no valid PCR test within the required 72 hours will be PCR tested at the airport upon arrival. Dr. Perk will be the physician spearheading the operation at the airport. On behalf of the Department of Public Health. His role will be to monitor and confirm the validity of COVID test results presented, to oversee testing for those without valid test results and persons whose results exceed the 72 hours mark. I would like to provide you with an update on the latest statistics on COVID-19. As of July 22nd, 2020, 81 persons had a laboratory confirmed COVID-19 infection. To date, there has been 63 persons that have recovered from the COVID-19 and 15 persons have passed away. There are currently 3 cases that are actively being monitored by CPS. Since my last address, there will have been 2 additional cases reported to CPS. These 2 persons contacted CPS this week due to flu-like symptoms and were subsequently tested. Both persons are presently isolated at their own residence. CPS has initiated contact tracing. All individuals that have been identified have been placed in quarantine and have received information on COVID-19. Over the course of the quarantine period, they will be monitored CPS. If persons indicate that they have been at work during their infectious period, meaning 2 days prior to having signs and symptoms up to the results, CPS will follow up with persons they have identified as being close contacts at work. During the course of contact tracing, CPS upholds patients' confidentiality and no personal information is disclosed about the case, neither to employers or contacts of the case. If an employer contacts CPS, they provide general information on COVID-19 and prevention measures. For now, the contact tracing for both cases is still ongoing. For both persons with COVID-19, CPS is gathering information on how these persons could have acquired this infection. This is called source tracing. So far, these persons did not recently travel on an international flight, but one person indicated to have traveled to another Caribbean island. Furthermore, these persons indicated that they did not have contact with a confirmed case. In the last 3 weeks, there have been 4 new reported cases. I would therefore like to remind the public to keep safe by washing your hands, often with soap and water. Keep a social distance of at least 2 meters from other person, and if you need to cough or sneeze, to do so in your elbows. Wear a mask if you are in public places where social distancing is not possible. If you have flu-like symptoms, stay home and call your family doctor. For additional questions or concerns, call CPS at 914. I would like also to reiterate that persons who are required to isolate and quarantine should stay home and limit contacts with all persons. This way, we can all do our part in preventing the spread of COVID-19 and protecting the population of St. Martin. I would like to thank you for this.
Thank you, Rolika. Good morning to you, my fellow colleagues, the media, and all of you tuning in to this press briefing. I have been in meetings with the credits, and I would like to inform the public that they are now offering a $25,000 bridge loan at 2%. These loans start with a 2% grace period for 6 months that consists of interest payments only, followed by 6 months of principal plus interest payments with a 2% interest rate, then 3 years of principal interest payments with a 6.75% interest rate. For those interested, please contact credit or visit them directly. I would also like to note that the criteria has been met for the continued financing of the payroll support. The Safety confirmed this yesterday via email, and they also informed the State Secretary CoNOPS. They also informed government and the State Secretary that there will be an external accountant auditing the process, namely BDO. This means that we will be able to continue to pay the payments for June, and SAV will continue to carry payments for the business payroll support. Please be sure that I'll also make mention of the income and unemployment support, and persons that are having difficulties receiving funds. It will be looked into, but please make sure that you are submitting the right documents and right information. And that would be all of my brief opening statements, Rolika.
Thank you, Minister Edion, for your opening remarks. At this time, I would like to invite the Prime Minister and Minister of General Affairs, the Honorable Silveira Jacobs, to address you. Prime Minister, you have the floor.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Rolika. Good morning once again to you, the colleague ministers in this live Council of Ministers press briefing, members of the media, people of St. Martin, all over the world, but of course right here, a pleasant good morning to each and every one of you. As you may know, I've recently returned from the Netherlands where we had discussions. The Council of Ministers still does not believe that the Caribbean reform entity that has been proposed by the Dutch government is a necessary entity to be able to receive or manage the reforms necessary or COVID-19 liquidity support. We as government continue to evaluate the draft concept as has been presented by the Netherlands. There are certain aspects that remain unacceptable, as I mentioned before. However, in light of our recently launched National Development Vision, which was done last Friday, there are certain elements that overlap with the package of proposed reforms, the Landspakketten. Our NDV has been also made public as of Monday this week. Stakeholders did receive their first copy to be able to peruse, and there is a trajectory of community dialogue to ensure that there is buy-in for this vision, which is a 2020-2030 vision. As such, the Department of Buck, which was dealing with it, is comparing the proposed reforms to see where the overlap is exactly, what we would term our priorities for the first 4 years within our governing program, and that would be included in what we are also doing in terms of the working groups that have been established by government. So there is a legal team that is analyzing the same reforms as well as the legalities of the consensus kingdom law as it has been presented, looking at alternatives so that we can potentially come with a collective counter proposal together with our sister islands, Aruba and Curacao. We do hope that once this has been finalized in the course of this week, by the early next week, that we can collectively make this presentation to the Dutch government and the Kingdom Council of Ministers to be able to come to a reasonable agreement whereby all countries and their autonomy can be maintained. As mentioned earlier, the National Development Vision document, a draft, has been presented to the stakeholders on Friday. We made that presentation, and on Monday it was to go live on a government's website so that all can be able to see it. I also was able to have this week 2 visits, one from the U.S. Consulate, Mr. Alan Greenberg, the Consul General, Mr. Alan Greenberg, along with his delegation. We discussed the strong economic and social ties between St. Martin and the United States, the impact of COVID-19 on our economy, and future opportunities for partnerships with the U.S. Some of the ongoing projects were discussed as well. The Consul also visited all of the other relevant ministers with whom he is in direct contact as a result of those agreements. As mentioned by our finance minister, Credits, the Be Your Own Boss program, has been launched. Credits Managing Director Elwin Groenewald was here on a visit from the Netherlands. The local managing director or manager, Mr. Edsel Gums, and him visited my office. We weren't able to meet as planned, but I was presented with the Be Your Own Boss handbook, which Credits will be using, this handbook, which Credits will be using besides issuing the soft loans or the loans to persons with micro, small, medium enterprise program. They are also offering a training program so that more persons on St. Martin, especially during this COVID-19 period where many have become unemployed, can actually fulfill their dreams and be their own boss. So I'd like to congratulate Credits on this great initiative as it falls directly in with our plans in terms of stimulating small business and stimulating entrepreneurship. I must also mention that the Council of Ministers met last week with the Rent Tribunal. We are also looking at the discussions there. Certain aspects of them being able to open to the public requires some adjustments for the COVID-19 reality, which is being worked out with our facilities department, and hopefully they will be able to not just be able to deal with problems or challenges that the community is facing on the phone, but persons will then be able to also visit the location and get the necessary assistance. As government, we are committed to ensuring that we find ways to bring the the skyrocketing rents around on St. Martin under control. And I have seen certain discussions even in our media pertaining to such, and with the new reality of persons having lost their jobs or receiving less than their full pay, that there is a lot of, conflict between owners or landlords and renters. So this is the resource that needs to be used, and government will ensure that they are able to assist as many as possible. And they have a backlog that they explain that they are working on, and they will be dealing with that as soon as possible. I know our health minister was cut off and was making some very key information. I'm hoping that he has been able to move to the conference room. Correct, good, and he will be able to finalize that. But before I close off for this morning, I would like to encourage the people of St. Martin that COVID-19, we would like to be COVID-free, and to be COVID-free would mean that everyone is doing their part. Of course, we've had a couple of cases resurge, and that is a clear indication, and even on the front side, whereby they had not traveled. So it has not totally disappeared. The confirmed cases are the only ones we can report on. So I'm asking the people of St. Martin to continue to do what you have to do to keep yourself safe, which is ensure you're wearing proper face covering, mask usage, social distancing of 1.5 to 2 meters from persons that are not within your family, not living in your home, and frequent hand washing. Remembering the respiratory etiquette, coughing and sneezing into elbows, using a tissue or napkin which you dispose of. And I would like to reiterate what another minister mentioned, I believe, in another setting, but something that has been I'm seeing all around the world, even in the international news. And we had started to discuss this during the COVID-19 when we were just coming out of the lockdown. The disposal of face masks, gloves, and other paraphernalia. Notwithstanding that, of course, plastic bottles, bags, etc. Not because we are paying persons to clean the side of the roads does that mean it is okay to dump things out of your windows. The cleaning, the roadside cleaning, is to clean back debris, brush, bushes and grass, etc. So I'm asking the people of St. Martin, as we work as a government, to bring back that awareness. It is up to you, it is up to me, for us collectively to take care of our beautiful country. So ensure that we are not littering and we are moving further into the recycling, reusing, and reducing of our garbage. Thank you, Council of Ministers, for being here this morning, the media, and I await any further questions related to the Ministry of General Affairs.
My questions are for the Minister of VSR as well as the Minister of TIAT. Minister, based on what I'm understanding and your statement, persons that came in on that repatriated flight on Saturday is now on a 14-day quarantine. Understandably so, because there now is a positive case on that flight. But can you tell me if the protocol, what protocol is in place? Because as of August 1st, if American flights is coming in, will tourists on those flights be quarantined? There seems to be an imbalance. So if you can clarify for me, if persons are coming in, if we open up on August 1st for American tourists, will they too be required to quarantine even though they have a PCR test?
Thank you, Bibi, for the question. And I will explain how the situation is. The Saturday flight that came in and the protocol of 14 days quarantine is the protocol that is up to now still being maintained. What happened to August 1st is that protocol will change. If you would have followed every time that I had a press release or a press briefing, I have indicated that the protocols will be monitored all the times and adapted when necessary. The Saturday flight came in the period where the country of St. Martin was still closed for the United States. But because it was students and residents of St. Martin, they were allowed by government to enter St. Martin. To try to keep it as safe as possible, being able to monitor and seeing that everything goes as safe as possible for the entire community, the decision was kept for the 14 days. Now, what the reality of the matter is that if people are negative and they are more social than if they were positive, we understand that. But to keep, without confusing the people, we maintain the 14 days, right? But by the 1st of August, when when the flights are starting to come in, the protocol will be adapted for that situation, whereas anybody that is negative, have a proof of being tested negative, or in case anything happened and they have to be tested here and they are negative, they don't have to acquire no more to the 14 days quarantine. As I stated, that will be adapted as things go forward. Don't forget, like I say, and I will repeat, this is a situation, this is a disease that worldwide, up to now, all the scientific minds, the medical staff, they are still trying to figure out how to deal best with this situation. And as such, that's why the decision was taken by the Minister of VSA. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister Panafleck. Thank you, Bibi. I would now like to invite Stephen Cerulean of PJ82 Radio. You have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Roach. My question is for the minister responsible for TIAT. On the reopening of the country to visitors from America, Minister, you firstly stated that this is going to be realized on August 1st. Are you still moving towards the projected date? And if yes, have you been in consultation with the French side to ensure a smooth reopening?
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for the question, Mr. Cerulean. The Council of Ministers made a decision that August 1st will be can you hear me okay, Rolika? Yeah? The Council of Ministers made a decision that August 1st will be the reopening date for flights from the US. It's a reduced schedule. Any changes that have to happen will be based on the advice coming from the Ministry of VSA, Public Health, Social Development, and Labor. Because the Ministry of VSA is doing an assessment on a risk-based on a risk basis for which countries we're going to open up to. So any further questions in terms of grading systems for countries based on risk, it's going to be based on advice coming from VSA. Thank you for the question.
The question of collaboration with the French side?
Yes, thank you. Have a meeting coming up as well, just to make sure that our protocols are the same. PCR testing is still being required in advance within 72 hours for testing and receiving results within 72 hours. That's the stricter measures that the Minister of VSA will go into in further detail in terms of receiving passengers and being very strict that they have their tests uploaded and questionnaires filled in, and all that information is actually it has been updated by the Ministry of VSA for the upgraded platform, so to say, and all of this is done in conjunction, in collaboration with the business.
Thank you, Minister DeWeaver. Minister Panafleck.
Thank you, Ms. Roach. Thank you, Ms. Brown. Mr. Brown, for the cooperation with the French side, I would like to make it known that the CPS, the Collective Prevention Services from the VSA, and the ARS, that is the counterpart of the same entity on the French side, are in close collaboration all the time, and they are on speaking terms all the time. They are communicated with each other very good. I can even say that out of personal experience from the Saturday flight, whereas when the testing, after the testing and the immigration post at the airport, the French authorities, both the police, the PAF, the police of the French territory, and the people of the ARS were at hand to deal with all those that came from the Air France flight and were going to the French side. So the French authorities are working closely with the Dutch authorities for this health measure, as we are one island divided by two nations but one people. So we are working closely together to make sure that to adhere to the protocols of the both nations. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister Panafleck. Thank you, Stephen Cerulean, for that question. I would now like to invite Lyndon Brown of BCN TV. You have the floor.
Good morning to the people of St. Martin and the ministers that are present here today. Question to the Prime Minister. Prime Minister, focusing on Caricom. Did you recently have any conversation with Caricom, like to join with Caricom, seeing that we are in a crisis now, and the Eastern Caribbean have a lot of things that can benefit St. Martin, Minister. And what's strange enough, the Dutch already has formal communication and agreement with the Eastern Caribbean. After the hurricane, we can see that. So I want to know, what kind of plan do you have to join fully with the Caricom countries?
Good morning, and thank you for the question, Mr. Brown. I can reiterate that I've mentioned before in press briefings that St. Martin is going through a process to become an associate member of the Caricom organization. I am in close discussion with the former and current leader of chairperson of Caricom, whereby St. Martin's plight has been highlighted. Also, we have taken part fully in the SEDEMA conferences where disaster management is concerned, and we are also covered under the CRIF, which is all beneficial as being part of the associated status we have with Caricom. So as such, we are continuing our collaborations and discussions with Caricom, and we will continue to do so in the benefit of St. Martin as a Caribbean country. Thank you for the question.
Thank you, Prime Minister. Thank you, Lyndon Brown, for that question. I would now like to invite Jeffrey Dr. Cochran from Island 92 Radio. You have the floor.
Thank you, Rolika. Good morning to all of the ministers that are present. Good morning to my fellow members of the media. Hope everyone is having a good day. My question is directed towards the Minister Panafleck. So if we are indeed, in fact, opening on August 1st, you've indicated that there will be testing done at the airport. Do we have test kits available? How many? What will be the specific protocol that people need to follow if they are planning to come to St. Martin starting the 1st of August? Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Scott, for the question. First of all, the requirement to come from the United States to St. Martin is to be PCR tested beforehand, before traveling, and uploading, hopefully negative, before traveling. Once you are negatively tested for the PCR, then you will be approved to travel. The measures taken is in cases that for one reason or the other. So meaning it's not that don't test and come to Martin. No, you have to be tested. But there might be instances that we can think about, that somebody arrives and the tests are either updated or they weren't accurate, or some people have to be retested. So we do not promote for people to come without being tested. They have to be tested. We are even looking into it to see what can be done to make sure that the people will avoid of coming to St. Martin shores not being tested or not having a valid negative PCR test. The amount right now, we are working in close collaboration with the laboratories, and the laboratories, as you know, worldwide have the challenge of getting the necessary quantities, because all countries, all nations are experiencing the same thing like St. Martin. Some countries looking for large batches just to test everybody in their nation. Some others will also have the protocols for the airports. Right now we have, and I'm sure that we have enough for the opening phases, and gradually it will be increased and continue to increase. I have even conversation with a lab that are right now in the process of looking into the possibility to get more machines. More machines means that they can test more people in case if it's necessary. So that's why I'm saying in the last couple of dots are being point on the E, as they say in Dutch, last punches of the E, to make sure that the 1st of August we are ready as part of the health part of the government for the opening. And that is going to be like that. Saturday last gave us a good insight what more or less to expect, and with the relevant partners in this whole exercise for the health part, for VSA part, we are working towards getting everything ready to go for 1st of August.
But as a follow-up, Minister, how many actual tests do we have, and what is the specific time frame that a person needs to be tested and have their negative result before the day of travel? I want to be very clear with our visitors that are listening, or our prospective visitors that are listening from around the world. People are very interested in coming back, and we want to make sure we do this the right way and as cautiously and as protected the right way.
Thank you, Dr. Sugg. I hope together with me, you will emphasize to everybody listening around the world for them to be tested prior to come. For you to still have the information, and I'm careful of saying how much tests we are, for the people not to get into their system of thinking, oh, we will just travel to St. Martin and will be tested there. This we really want to do as a measure that if something happened, that the people is should be retested and not something for them to test here. We have more than enough tests right now, and I'm still being careful. We have more than enough tests right now on the island for the eventuality that anybody that has to be tested coming in 1st of August and beyond to be tested. And like I said, they are right now in phases of getting more machines. Right now, the time it takes to run a spin, what they call a spin, for you to get the information, is about 2.5 hours. With some paperwork, by the 3rd hour, you should have the results already, either if you're positive or negative.
Thank you, Minister Panafleck. Thank you, Dr. Sock, for the question. Before we move on to the second round of questions, I would also like to re-invite the Prime Minister to provide you with another update. Prime Minister Jacobs, you have the floor.
Thank you, Rolika. I just wanted to mention that we are in the hurricane season, and the Disaster Management Office is monitoring, and in collaboration with the Ministry of TIAT. I don't think the minister had opening statements, but I wanted to update that they are monitoring Depression 7, which is out in the Atlantic and heading towards the Caribbean. And I wanted to remind on behalf of our ministries of government, the business community, that we are in the hurricane season, as well as our people, to ensure that your preparations are well in order. Protect your homes, protect your businesses, including ensuring that you have the right insurance and that you can secure your property. I know also the Ministry of RAMI is doing the necessary cleanups. And so as government, we would just like to remind people of St. Martin, it's raining on a daily basis. We are in the hurricane season, and that we should remain vigilant. For all radio programs, the Met Office continues to update also on the Sahara dust and predictions for the hurricane season 2020. So also we were updated in Council of Ministers pertaining to monitoring of the Great Salt Pond and ensuring that no flooding takes place. So government is taking all the necessary precautions, and I would just like to take this time to remind the citizens of St. Martin, business and personal homes, to do all that is necessary to protect yourself and to be prepared, have your necessary hurricane/disaster kit ready, and pay attention to all bulletins. Thank you, Rolika.
Thank you, Prime Minister Jacobs. We now move on to the second round of questions. Bibi Shah, you have the floor.
Rolika, bear with me. Minister Panafleck, I do not know if it's my internet or if it's your side, but I'd like to ask you two questions again, follow up as to my first question. On the flight that came in on Saturday, can you tell us exactly the destinations of those passengers? Were they all from the Dutch side of St. Martin, or were there cases on the French side of the island? I don't want you to divulge personal information, but I'd like to know exactly which side of the island the two cases, the positive and the inconclusive. Are they from the French side or are they from the Dutch side? Follow up to that. If the island reopens on August 1st, you said the protocol will change, which I expect. Tell me if the French authorities will be at the airport to assist and monitor with the testing that will take place there. Thank you.
I'm live.
Yes, Minister, you are.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Bibi. First of all, the first question that you asked, if the person is residing on the one side or the other, I have to tell you the person is residing on the island, and both the Dutch and the French authorities are involved and in contact with each other. Concerning the second question, like I stated before, the French and the Dutch authorities, CPS, ARS from the French side, and all those that are involved with the airport that have to collaborate with each other are constantly being in contact with each other and available. As I told you, Saturday when I was there myself, I saw with my own eyes that the French authorities were there on the island. I expect, but that can be different, seeing that the 1st August will be opening, that the French authorities might be there also to see how things are going. But anyhow, all the French flights, they are there because most passengers on the Air France flights, the French flights, are mostly destined to go on the French side. Thank you.
Can I get a follow-up?
Thank you, Minister Panafleck. I'm sorry, Bibi, we'll have to continue as we have about 10 minutes left in the program. I would advise you to have that question sent to Minister Panafleck in writing, and he'll be able to get back to you as well. Stephen Cerulean of PJ82 Radio, you have the floor.
Thank you, Ms. Roach. Is the Minister of Rome still available?
Yes, he is, Stephen.
Okay. Minister, my question is for you. The former government building, the post office and the library are just a few dilapidated buildings standing around since the passage of the hurricanes back in 2017. Seeing that the peak of the hurricane season is quickly approaching, what are your plans for the mentioned buildings?
Good morning, everyone. Good morning to the people of St. Martin. Thank you very much, Stephen, for your question. Upon taking office, I was hit with the fact that there was a situation regarding the demolishing of those buildings. Nevertheless, it is a top priority. We had several discussions in the Council of Ministers in regards to the demolition of those exact buildings and the remodeling of thereof. And as soon as more details available, I will make it known to the public.
Thank you, Minister Duran. Thank you, Stephen, for that question. I would now like to invite Lyndon Brown of BCN TV. You have the floor.
Good morning again to the people of St. Martin. Question to the Minister of Finance. Minister of Finance, it's looking like shortly St. Martin would be running out of cash, Minister. If so be the case, Minister, what's the alternative for currency? Let me just give you a tip, Minister. Minister, are you thinking about digital currency?
Minister Adrian, if you can hear us, kindly unmute your mic, please. Minister Adrian, if you're still present in the meeting.
Yes, Rolika. Sorry, I had an urgent call. Can you please repeat the question?
Mr. Brown, can you kindly unmute your mic and repeat your question for the Minister of Finance? Lyndon, can you kindly unmute your mic, please?
Yeah, and I was emphasizing St. Martin. It seemed like St. Martin would be running out of cash, and I was stating, do you have an alternative, like meaning digital currency?
Thank you for your question, Mr. Brown. No, St. Martin does not have currently a digital currency.
Thank you, Minister Adrian. Thank you, Lyndon. I would now like to invite Jeffrey Socken of Isle 92 Radio. You have the floor.
Thank you so much, Rolika. When can we expect the detailed requirements to be published with the specific protocols for travel to St. Martin once we open on August 1st? All of the online information that is currently available still reflects the protocols that are in place. When can we expect to see in writing and have online for our upcoming visitors? When can we see those protocols, and when will they be published and available for the world to see? Thank you. And that's probably best directed to Minister of VSI, Minister Panafleck.
Thank you, Dr. Scott. Thank you for that question. The evaluation results will be in today from the partners. This I will share with my colleagues from the CoM, and then as soon that is being done, it will be shared with the general public. I understand the concern, and we're working digitally for all the informations to be there and for it not to be confusing. We will make sure also that for the health part, the VSA part, there is one channel of communication that everything goes from that one. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Minister Panafleck. Minister De Wever.
Thank you, Ms. Roach. I just wanted to clarify a couple of things for the public. So, we've been using from the tourism website. What we're doing is updating the public with the information that's coming from the Ministry of VSI in terms of what our entry requirements are. How we continuing to wear a mask around the island and in enclosed spaces, doing social distancing. So we are using the information that we receive from the Ministry of Public Health to disseminate, to share with the world, basically, especially our travelers on the airlines. And the website is the same, where people have to fill in their health questionnaire. It continues to be stmartinentry.com, which you will be able to access the link from the stmartinupdates.com website, which is maintained by the St. Martin Tourist Bureau. Now, even though you will not, there's no change, no new place that you would have to access, what's important to let everyone know is that it is very detailed and it is very thorough in terms of, any frequently asked questions, how VSI, how public health is assessing the countries, how, we are constantly going to be looking at it, updating it based on a risk grading system. So the information is very comprehensive. They have done a very good job of, making as much information as possible there for you that you can anticipate. So the form is still the same. The questions will, depending on where you're coming in the world, then there will be a little bit more intense questioning there. But it's there's a smooth transition. You see nothing. It is the same website being accessed that has been communicated to all the airlines for entry, all the ports of entry, St. Martin, STMAARTEN entry.com. Thank you, Ms. Roach.
Thank you, Minister DeWeaver, and thank you, Dr. Sock, for that question. I was just informed that we are at the hour of our broadcast. Therefore, this does bring us to the end of the question and answer session. Once again, thank you to the members of the media for taking part in the press briefing today. Honorable Ministers of the Council, members of the media, radio listeners, and online viewers, this does bring us to the end of the Live Council of Ministers press briefing for today, Wednesday, July 22nd, 2020. For rebroadcast, tune into St. Martin Cable TV, channel 115, St. Martin Gov Radio 107.9 FM, the official Facebook page of the Government of St. Martin, and YouTube channel Government of St. Martin. For video on demand, log on to the official government's website at stmartingov.org. On behalf of the Department of Communication and the Government of St. Martin, I'm Rolika Roach and wishing you a pleasant day further.